Hi, I want to do a real quick video on personal responsibility, and I want to talk about how, beyond any reasonable understanding and expectation and understanding, um, we can understand and deduce when someone's personally responsible, and we can go back and find the thing to blame when it comes to finding how this person's responsible for something that they've done. Sort of like a drunk driver taking responsibility for running over someone or killing someone or injuring someone, and that's another distinction I want to make. It's all about the fact that something happened, the fact that the intention or whatever the act of some kind of crime or something unlawful or something bad causing suffering on someone else was how that is the only thing that matters, and it's not the necessarily the end result that matters. It's the action itself, the intent of harm, the possibility of risk, and the imposition of risk on someone, and how that necessarily plays a role in this. And it's sort of like it doesn't necessarily it does matter how bad a person is injured, and that can come into an equation as well. But I want to talk about the responsibility of the person that's committed some kind of bad doing, such as causing suffering or harm, especially when it's against the law, killing someone, doing some kind of crime, the intention of a crime, and the intention of a crime, some kind of crime or some kind of bad doing. Matters, even when there's no necessarily negative repercussions. Say the person, it doesn't matter if you kill someone or not. When you intend and you shoot them, and say you shoot someone and you didn't kill them or you missed them, it's not that, and because you had an intention, it matters only that you had an intention, as opposed to the fact that you killed the person or you injured the person or you completely missed the person. It's the intention that matters in that circumstance, and you're still personally responsible, regardless of the fact that you actually killed someone or not. You're still personally responsible for picking up the weapon, aiming it at someone, and shooting them, regardless of the effect that happened in the end. You had intention, and obviously you shouldn't be charged to a minimum amount, a minimum degree, sort of like first degree, second degree, and third degree. You should be punished. Depending on or intention or attempted murder, you should be at least charged with attempted murder when a circumstance like that is. Obviously, that's what we do. But the circumstance should be at least punished with a minimum expectation and circumstance, and the repercussion should be have a lowest minimum and a highest maximum. Sort of like attempted murder when attempting to shoot someone, and that's something that gives them the greatest amount of responsibility for their crime, as opposed to the shooting or missing the shooting because maybe they didn't intend to miss them. They were going to kill them, because that's the thing that matters the most in the end, is the fact that they intended to kill someone, and the mistake that they made in missing the person is completely irrelevant in the fact that they wouldn't have killed them if they didn't miss them or they didn't shoot the wrong part of their body. They wouldn't have killed them, and the intent matters more than the effect in the end, when understanding the intention or the responsibility of the person making this action or causing some kind of pain or imposing on someone is what matters more than the effect in the end. So another thing in considering this kind of thing is like a drinking and driving. The person is responsible for the first time they drink, even though they were blacked out and they hit someone when they were blacked out. They're still personally responsible for picking up a drink at the bar or wherever at home, and picking up the drink, deciding to drink it, recognizing that it's a riskful behavior that they're likely to impose on someone. They know that they may act funny when they're drunk, and it's a matter of the imposition and recognizing the risk taken, the liability taken when you drink, and knowing that when you especially when you have to drive home or something, you have to go home, or especially when you know there's an intention, especially when you're out somewhere, you drink, and then you have to go home or something. Going into details into this example, you drive, and then even though you were blacked out or you were completely drunk, you're still responsible for picking up the drink, and the responsibility lies on you, regardless of the fact of you not being completely in your senses, and even if you're not in your right state of mind, you're still personally responsible for being the one that for deciding to drink and then driving in the end, and recognizing the risk of drinking to begin with, especially when you're out somewhere, then you have to drive home. You obviously take even more risk doing that, and you're more personally responsible, and it almost makes it seem worse when you know all these possibilities and liabilities and risks, and you don't take responsibility for them, you don't live through them, and you take it knowing the risks, and you cause someone harm, or you do the action and the effect, and you don't necessarily experience it yourself, and that obviously causes a lot of problems because in taking responsibility with something, because you're not in your right state of mind, or you're completely blacked out. Those are a few examples using and understanding personal responsibility. You're still personally responsible. It doesn't matter that it's in the past and in the future. You're responsible regardless of the action that happened. Even if you killed him or you didn't kill him, it's the fact that the intent, the harm was being possible, the risk and the liability was taken when you decided to drink or you decided to pick up the gun and shoot someone. And the intent doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're completely out of your mind. We can recognize mistakes, and things happen. Good things happen, bad things happen, and it's recognizing mistakes and realizing that consequences are going to happen for your action based on the system, especially the justice system or any kind of system that exists in the society, the world, the existence, the reality that we're living in. And things are going to happen. Something's going to happen in response to what you're doing. The consequences are going to lay themselves out before you. And regardless of your responsibility or your irresponsibility, inaction or action, you're going to take responsibility for your action no matter what. So something's going to happen in the end anyway. So regardless of the fact that you take responsibility or you don't take responsibility, it's all about recognizing that you have to take responsibility for your actions and realizing the liability, the risks, and the imposition and taking these irresponsible acts or not taking responsibility for yourself in the end. So it matters in the end. So it doesn't matter what happens. It's a matter of the intent and the recognition of risk and taking an action that eventually leads to an action, as opposed to the action in and of itself. The action of the cause of harm and imposition exists in and of itself, and the act that you take and responsibility of it has a direct effect. And especially, obviously, going back to the effect, we can't necessarily blame everyone. Do you blame the bartender, or do you blame the person drinking? The bartender knows the person has to drive home, but the person knows that they don't have to order the drink. They know they don't have to take the risk. They know, they know more about their own circumstance than the other person knows about their own circumstance. They know more about themselves. They're the one person responsible for making their choice. Unless someone at gunpoint was forcing them to drink, then that person would be the cause of all this problem. Though the responsibility would be held, probably the blame would be held in a different context, or someone else would be blamed. So it doesn't matter. You take personal responsibility and recognizing the risks taken. Obviously, you can only go so far back in recognizing who's responsible. The person that drinking, or the bartender. The person that drinking, to give a solid example, is the person the person that drinks the thing, then causes the act itself, is more responsible than the bartender. The bartender could say, hey, maybe you shouldn't drink, or give them a drink without even asking any questions, and they're just there to make their money or whatever it is. And so the person drinks and then they commit the act is more responsible than the bartender. Unless the bartender obviously knew beforehand, was edging them on, then the bartender can take at least some responsibility in the person that dies or gets hit in the drinking and driving accident, or the person that eggs them on or eggs a person on when they're about to shoot someone, or eggs them on, you should kill this person, or you should try to kill this person. Oh, they're nasty. That's a nasty person. You're still responsible for taking that action and falling for it. It's all about you're taking responsibility for your own actions and recognizing that you shouldn't have fallen for it, but obviously that person can still take some responsibility in the end outcome of what happens. And the end outcome isn't what matters in the end. What happens, it's the intent, or what when I say, back to the example, the intention matters. If there's an intention, it matters. If we're going into psychology and recognizing things that happen, if you have an intention, it matters more. If you killed the person or not, like for first degree, second degree murder. But if you had no intention, like the drunk driver, it doesn't matter what, it doesn't, so I said, okay, well, I said that it does matter when you're experiencing it. So it does matter when so it doesn't matter the intent, or the outcome if you have the intent, but the intent, it doesn't matter the outcome if you have the intent, but the outcome matters if you didn't have the intent. And if you're looking into psychology and recognizing how this works, it matters more about the intent and so on and so forth, at least from a societal recognition point of view in the justice system, and recognizing these distinctions in the acts of imposition and so on and so forth. But it doesn't really matter the end outcome. It's a matter of the intention, or the thing that happens, the act itself leading to the suffering and the imposition in the end. Almost two separate things, but they connect to one. So it doesn't matter in the end. So this thing is something that the imposition exists, and there's nothing we could do about it, and we can only go so far back in recognizing the imposition on someone, and the liability and the responsibility taken by the perpetrators of said action. So sort of like the person drinking should take responsibility for themselves, as opposed to the bartender giving them the drink. So personal responsibility lies in the person causing the direct act more than anything. So I think I made the point clear enough, and thank you until next time. Bye.